Hey, so I make about $1,000 a day by writing posts directly from my offer. And I was just walking, I thought I'd do a little series over here because you can see as I'm sat here, like some of the transactions range from $49 to like 1,600 to 50 to 4,500, whatever that may be. That's just ascension that happens in my little ecosystem that I built as I write one post a day. But I've got an offer pad, I've got a leverage pad that allows me to basically write and send people into my leverage pad, which is a funnel, and then there's little ascension emails that take customers and turn them into clients. But the purpose of today is I got a lot of questions recently in Modern Maker, my coaching program, which asked why my content doesn't hit. And I would love to bring this to surface with a little doodle today and talk about it. I've got a phone, I've got some doodles, and we're just going to talk out in the park. So the reason why many people don't make sales is because they just write content and then they sell occasionally, right? And they think that that's enough. But when they sell, the offer that they're making most likely has no context, right? Because they've just been posting maybe irregularly or maybe to go viral or to grow or to whatever, but they forget to create context daily. So whenever they do make an offer, they wonder why it doesn't sell. So they blame the algo, they blame their audience, they blame their freebies, or they blame the coach. It doesn't matter what it is. You're pointing fingers because you aren't providing context. So in this video, I want to talk about a very distinct reframe that I made that basically made me hundreds of thousands of dollars from content alone. And once you see this way of working, you won't be able to unsee it, right? And I want to break it down with an example of my own offer and see if I can portray that to you so you can sort of see the same patterns. Because what we're going to do is, it's not content equals sales, it's content plus context equals sales, right? And in my world, my offer has 3 components that I install with clients. So I write my offer in a Google Doc that looks something like this, right? I've tried to do it as simply as possible. It's pretty much a document that has a first, next, then. So first, I help people write their offer in a Google Doc, something that looks like this, right? But online. The second step is we build a low ticket funnel, and I've marked that in yellow. And then the third step is we do what I call power writing, or essentially write one post a day to get traffic into the low ticket funnel. And then that low ticket funnel sends the customers back to the offer. So you may have also created your own offer in a Google Doc and you've had some success. If you haven't, down below I'm going to drop Iggy the Offer Maker GPT, and you can literally use it and create your own offer in minutes. This is a process that used to take hours and hours and days, and I'd have to jump on Zoom calls with clients and extract all of this and write. But nowadays all I'm doing is basically just sending people an offer, and I'm signing 1 to 3K clients as I've shown you today. Now, the point of it is that you may be, for example, a mindset coach, you might be a ghostwriter, a social media manager, a restaurant owner, a lawyer. It doesn't matter what it is that you are, that matters less. What matters to me is you take somebody on a journey into the first, next, then realm, right? These little numbers. Whatever it is you're doing, you have a process that you take your clients on, and you've written it in that document, or you do it on a sales call or whatever that may be. The offer document isn't necessary, and you may do the same thing in calls, right? So my goal every week is to pretty much write what I call show content, because show content shows what I'm doing in this offer, right? I do this 5 times a week, and twice a week I write what I call share content. And share content is like my values, my hobbies, my interests, and that sort of stuff, right? And I've made this little diagram here to show you. So if, for example, you're writing 5 times a week, I choose to write 7. Some people write 3. Doesn't matter what it is. I just wanted to show you that from this offer, there's green, yellow, and red to show what's in here. And then the blue is my share content. So on Monday, I'm going to share a hobby or an interest or my love for running, my cats, my dogs, my family. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe on Friday, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to talk about committing to a marathon, and I'm running it with my dog Coconut, whatever that may be. And then in between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to write from my offer, right? And I'm going to talk about Google Docs because that's the first one in green. Then the next day I'm going to write about my funnel, and then the next day I'm going to write about getting traffic and writing a post a day, right? And the more I drill that, you see the next week I've just flipped it around. So the following week I might do yellow first, which is the funnel. Then I'm going to talk about writing. Then I'm going to talk about offers. And then the following week I'm going to write about writing first, then funnels, then offers, or whatever. Like, you get to design how you're going to create your content plan, right? The point of it is when you have the 2 blues on the outside and you share, people buy into who you are, right? The person, the guy sitting in the park, the guy who loves watermelons and cats and dogs and running and guitar in my world. And I can't tell you how many times people have bought my consulting, because at the end of the day, everyone does very similar things, right? There's other business consultants or marketers that do what I do or what you do, but there's only one of you who has this intersection of interests. That's why I love my share posts, and I aim to do them twice a week. I don't do them more because then it becomes sort of like an influencer account, right? We don't want to be Kim Kardashian or MTV Cribs or whatever that may be. I just want to share the 3 or 4 hobbies, interests, values, or opinions that I have. And then in the middle, always aim to show what I'm doing from the offer. So does that make sense? And if you have any questions, you can always drop them down below. You can hit subscribe. I'd love to hear all about the ideas that are brewing for you. So what I'm going to do to basically hammer this home and hit a home run is I'm going to give you a real example of my own component here and how I would create my show posts and spread them out, right? So one thing that I love doing is, let's say we took my first component, which is I help people take their wisdom, take their genius, take their service, and put it in a Google Doc. You can see the squares here. I'm talking about Google Docs there in green, there and there. It can get really repetitive, right? And people are like, how do you talk about the same thing over and over and over again? So the one thing that I do whenever I write show posts is this little part of the diagram here. I split it into 3 Ps with an optional 4th one. So you can think of it as the 4P framework, but use 3 out of 4. So every time I'm showing something, I think of myself like a carpenter who's sawing wood, right? Ever been to one of those guys? Like 2 years ago, I went to a luthier, who's sort of like a carpenter in a very different way. And I asked him to build me a guitar from scratch for my birthday when I turned 30. And I would go in and watch him saw the wood and make the equations and scrap all these little bits and pieces. And that was fascinating to me. And I filmed a few of those, and I was like, this guy should document that process of sawing the wood to create the guitar, right? Because all you have to do is show. You don't even have to persuade anyone or you just have to demonstrate that you're good at what you do. And that's what I took, right? We're collecting the sawdust that's falling on the floor from the process of actually sawing. As a carpenter, as a luthier, as a whatever it is. So we're collecting content, we're not creating it. And that's what I call show content. So for me, if I wanted to go back to our little diagram and document my Google Doc part of my offer, which is the first component, I would break it in the 3 P's and the optional 4th one to show what I'm good at. So the first P is problem. I would think to myself, what is the actual problem that people have, right? They book too many sales calls and it takes a lot of time. And at least for me, it took a lot from my family. I was always on sales calls. I was good at it, but I found this solution, which is Google Docs, to be so much more efficient to solve this problem, because people that were ready to buy when I had a content-driven business didn't need a sales call. So having it in a Google Doc solves it. I could write a post exactly like I've just verbalized to do that. The second P could be proof, right? So what I could do is write a post to show either my own proof or some client who used a Google Doc and got a high ticket client. And I get a lot of those, so I just take screenshots from WhatsApp or my school community to showcase that. And you see how that could be a proof post to showcase the first component that we're talking about, right? Then I can talk about philosophy. Philosophy is the why behind that component. So for me, it stems so much deeper, because having Google Docs allows me to be a present dad with my daughter who's 1 next month, allows me to work 3 days a week. It allows me to be more present with my wife and my family. And that's the reason why I get more people to use Google Docs, for example, right? And that's another post. And then the 4th one, I say it's optional. That's the plan. That's how we're going to write a Google Doc, right? So I could literally screenshot this and say, here's how you write a Google Doc. First, you have an opening paragraph. Then we're going to write our first, next, then we're going to have, after the plan, we're going to have a price. And now you can create your Google Doc. So if I'm, let's say, a fitness coach, I could write a plan on how I'm going to lose weight. Or if I'm a lawyer, how I'm going to handle this case. That's the 4th one. But these 3 are really good. So now that you've seen that, you can see that I could then take my funnel component, which is the 2nd component from my doc, and write to a problem, write to a philosophy, and write for some proof, right? Show proof of people using the funnel. Then I could take my writing component, which is the last one, and share my philosophy behind writing, share my proof behind other people who've been writing on LinkedIn or writing emails and they're getting results. And then I can also share, what was the last one? I forgot it now. Like proof, promise, and then the problem, right? The problem where people just write to grow and they can't convert, which is kind of like this video over here. So is that now making a little more sense? Because by the time someone sees my service, or when they inquire for my service, they've gotten so much context about the 3 components of my offer that when they see the offer by now, it's just like a simple or like a yes or no decision, right? And the ones who say no are not the right fit. The ones who say yes are the right fit. And that's what I'm doing to market from my offer backwards, not towards it. Like just write content, be like, here's my cohort, here's my cohort, here's my one-on-one, buy. And this right now is a pillar of my 1 post a day system that if you click down below, you can watch another video that I've attached that breaks this entire thing down, which is very meta of me, but it's the system I use inside Modern Maker, which pretty much goes through these 3 colored components, right? And you can use this exact framework we're talking about now to get yourself some clients, right? Makes sense? Now, I've left this for last because it's also really fun and it's part of it. So we've finished off the equation, which is content plus context equals sales. Now you can use that to basically map out your content 5 days a week or 7 days a week. If you're writing 7 days a week, just pick another one, right? And I always like doing 80% show, 20% share. So The same is true if you decide to do 3 times a week, right? That will just mean that you'll alternate or skip one every week. So you have a share and 2 shows, and then the next week you might have 2 shows and 1 share, and vice versa. Same is true if you choose to write 20 times a week, right? Now, the share posts, for me, the ones in blue, I see them as your values, your hobbies, your opinions, and your interests, right? I've dabbled down into this a little bit, but for me, my values as a person are all about equality and everybody's equal, and we're looking at people from the floor, not from the stage, and talking down at them. I'm somebody who values time more than money, and there's so much I can talk about here that I won't in this video, but you yourself have your own values that you can speak to. It doesn't necessarily always have to be hobbies and interests, right? So it can be values that we share. I've also got hobbies here because I'm an avid runner, and I can't tell you how many people have followed me on Strava or through Instagram and LinkedIn or email, shared their running journeys with me, and that experience, I just attract more runners or other people who play guitar. Maybe you have hobbies too. Play chess, basketball, cricket, doesn't matter what it is. Share those online with no call to action, and you'd be surprised. I had my buddy Dimmy the other day say, I shared a post about my grandmother and I got leads from it. And I was like, man, I'm running the marathon for my grandfather who passed away. Imagine how many other people can resonate with that grandmother post that you wrote, right? So that's another one. The other one is strong opinions, right? In the world of AI, opinions matter so much because you share and build authority through leadership content, right? You shift people's beliefs, and having an opinion shows that you are an authority, that you have something to say, right? It's not just AI slop and all of that. And I've shared my opinions a lot online, and they don't have to pick or prick at people all the time. It could just be very, very simple. To me, this whole 5 a.m. club and this and that, I wake up at 5 a.m. to run, and then I go to war at 9 a.m., right? Or I work 3 days a week, and that's okay, versus the traditional system that says you've got to do 9 to 5 or whatever. It is whatever opinion you might have. For me, another fun one is watermelon is the best fruit on planet Earth, and I hate Crocs, right? It doesn't have to be business related either, but it can be. Or the whole Google Doc movement is you don't need sales calls if you don't want them. Not to say they don't work, right? It's an opinion. And then your interests are kind of like hobbies, but it could be reading, it could be playing soccer, it could be watching movies, reading books. It doesn't matter what those interests are, but at this intersection of showing and sharing, you design a moment where people pull out their credit card and want to be around you, right? It's the intersection of what you do that you show and who you are that you share that designs that moment. And for me, if there's a little summary again, is you have your offer, you have those components, you take them out and you write content from it, right over here, that you show and share to create context about your offer. So then by the time people get there, they know who you are. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If anything came to mind, please hit subscribe and let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.